Good vach, everyone. Shavua Tov. Bershus the Morda Asra, Rabbi Haber. I want you all to know that I have followed Rabbi Haber's career and trajectory for many years as a student of Rabbi Haber. In that, he began his career as a Rav in Buffalo, then went on to the OU and did very innovative programs. I read his first sefer called Reachings, which is sermons for young rabbis to learn how to give over shiurim. So I picked up that book. And then when I heard that he moved to Ramat Beit Shemesh and to Eretz Yisrael and to start the Torah Lab, I said, this is a mentor that I can aspire to. It's a mentor, a Rebbe, who has vision, who has dreams, and he makes those dreams come true. Some people have dreams, they don't come true. Rabbi Haber has had dreams and vision and has transformed them into reality. And I'm sure that it is due in a great part to his Rebbetzin. Rebbetzin Haber was here tonight. Thank you so much for coming, Mrs. Haber. And I know that probably one of the reasons why you are so successful is because you're from Baltimore. And I am from Baltimore, and you are a Polakov and a Yudin. So the heritage and the yichus of your family has spurred you to be a supporter and a visionary along with your husband, and to help build a beautiful new Kehillah here in Ramat Beit Shemesh. I wish you both Hatzlacha Rabba in continuing to grow this innovative and beautifully a Makam Torah of Avodas Hashem. I want to thank Elisha Kutleroff for inviting me here as well. Is Elisha here tonight? I want to thank you so much for helping organize the poster and the publicity and the program. He invited me 2 years ago to speak here in the shul. And I've graduated because last year I was upstairs in the ladies section, and now I'm graduated downstairs in the Beis Medrash. So I feel very uplifted and honored to be here in the Beis Medrash to share with you some Torah thoughts on how to arise from a bad mood. I want to thank Mrs. Jackie Burnley, who's a friend of mine from 1990 back to 2000. That's 31 years. Who was a Talmida of mine, a student of mine in London, England. In Notting Hill and in the New West End Synagogue, and I helped guide the family, and she has beautiful children and grandchildren, and I'm very honored that you are my representative and promoter here in Eretz Yisrael, and I thank you so much for your chizuk and support. And I want to also thank Mrs. Evie Wasowski and Shelley Livy for taking the door and welcoming people into the Beis Medrash. Thank you so much for all your assistance and helping make this event an inspiring event. Thank you so much. In 1947, before the State of Israel was declared, there was, as you all know, a movement amongst the Haganah to fight against the British forces. I know many of you are from Britain, but we have dual loyalties between Eretz Yisrael and Britain. However, our main loyalty is to be Jewish, and the Stern Gang and the Lehi and the Haganah were fighting against the British to have a state declared. There was a family made up of a man named Chaim and his wife Miriam, and they were fighting in the Haganah against the British. Unfortunately, Chaim was arrested and sent to the great garrison prison of the British Mandate in Akko. At least 8 Jews were executed by the British there for spying and for terrorist activity, so to speak. So it was a very serious prison sentence for him to be sent to Akko prison. So Miriam, his wife, wrote him a letter to the prison and said, "Dear Chaim, we are all very proud of you. You are a hero fighting for the establishment of our state in Palestine, and you are a fighter and a freedom fighter, and we are all proud of you. Except that the problem is that I am alone now on the Meshek. I'm alone now in the farm on a moshav, and we were about to work together to plant the potatoes. We have no farm hands, we have no assistants, it was just you and me to build this farm, and it's potato season to plant the potatoes, and you, my dear hero husband, are sitting in Akko prison and without our possibility of having a parnasa for the next few months. Please tell me what to do. Love, Miriam." Chaim wrote back to Miriam from the Akko prison and said, "Dear Miriam, whatever you do, don't touch the field, because under the field are buried 150 rifles of the Haganah. Don't touch the field. Love, Chaim." As you know, every letter sent from a military institution is intercepted by the intelligence of the prison and is read. And they read the letter. The next day, 100 British troops descended upon their farm and dug up their field. That night, Miriam wrote to Chaim, "Dear Chaim, the British soldiers came today and dug up our field, but they didn't find not a single rifle of the Haganah. What do I do now?" Chaim wrote back from the prison and said, "Dear Miriam, now go and plant the potatoes." Love, Chaim. So this is an expression of what we're going to talk about tonight. V'nahafochu, to upturn, to overturn the way we think, and to think in a different way, which will give us a different approach to life. The approach to life is usually that we have a seichel. We believe that we have a seichel, an intellect, and we are driven and run by the seichel. That's what we think. We think that is the tool with which we use to run our lives. So let's analyze that, and let's do a v'nahafochu, to analyze whether that's really true, and whether there is a different way of approaching life, not using the so-called seichel as the arbiter or the guide of our lives, but perhaps there is a v'nahafochu, there is a different way of approaching life. I want to share with you this particular poster design, and it goes like this, that these are the three parts of the individual. For the ladies section, this is the ladies section, and this is the men's section. This is for the men, and this is for the ladies. Ladies, we have 3 dimensions of self, according to Reb Chaim Vital, the Talmud of the Arizal. During the 18 months that Reb Chaim Vital learned by the Arizal, and Arizal told him all over his Kabbalistic system, and all that we have from the Arizal is from Reb Chaim Vital. And in the Sefer Shari Kedusha, he says that the 3 dimensions of a person are mind, heart, and body, known as neshama, ruach, guf, or otherwise known as nefesh. This is the cognitive, the emotional, and the physical. Gentlemen, for you, we have the same dimensions. We have the cognitive, which is the seichel, the mind. We have the regesh, feelings, called ruach. Ruach is wind, is spirit. And we have the guf, the body, the nefesh. 3 dimensions of self. Chaim Vital tells us that a human being lives here. We live here in the ruach. We have emotions, and we have feelings, and our emotions are up and down all day long. So if you take a look at a copy of this poster, which is here on your handout, I want you to note on this handout, next to cognitive, write down seichel. Next to emotional, write down ruach, which is feelings. And next to the legs, behavioral, write down guf or nefesh. Those are the 3 dimensions. Next to the emotions, I want you to write down the 2 main emotions that you experience during the day. Everyone knows what are their 2 main fluctuating emotions during the day. Write down your 2 main emotional feelings that you have during any given day. And they are pretty much consistent. Every single day we have the same thing going on. It's either, any ideas, anyone want to share with me? What are the main emotions that you usually experience during a day? How are they? Happiness, joy, and depression. So some people have a fluctuation of happiness and sadness, happiness and depression. That could be two of the emotions. What other possible emotions do you experience during a given day? Ahava and sina, happiness or love and hatred or anger. Don't have to be contradictory. They could be, but write down the range. So write down on the top, next to the heart, the range of your various positive emotions. And write down the range of your negative emotions. According to the Ran, Rabbi Nissim Gaon, in Drashos Haran, in Rosh Hashanah, he says the two main emotions in life are love and fear. There are only two foundational emotions called love and fear. And all other emotions come from those emotions. Anything you've written down so far under the feeling of ruach come under the category either of love, as you mentioned, ahava, or, no one mentioned yet the word fear, but you call it hate, or sina, or depression. That comes from fear. So I'll show you my poster on that. Love brings forth all the positive emotions, like giving. If you feel loved, then you can become a giver. You feel happiness. You compliment others, feel loved. And positivity, you're positive. So really love is the foundation emotion, the basis for all positivity and all positive emotions. Fear gives forth all the opposite, negative emotions. Fear, instead of giving, leads to taking or selfishness. Happiness leads to depression, sadness. Positivity leads to anger. The opposite of anger, we said, was complimenting others or being positive with others or building up others. The opposite is anger, being negative. And the last one of positivity leads to negativity. So fear is the opposite. Now let's say, for example, why is fear the source of anger? How does fear come into being the source of anger? Why is fear the key negative emotion? And that is fear. If I say to you, let's make an appointment. I'm a psychologist and I see clients in Baltimore and on Zoom around the world and here in Yerushalayim. So if I say, let's make an appointment for 2 o'clock, and you come to my office at 7 p.m., I may say to you, 7 p.m., we said 2 o'clock. I'm angry at you. I'm angry. My anger is coming from fear. Why am I fearful? What am I fearful of? My anger is coming from my fear. What's my fear? I fear that you don't what? You don't? Respect me. Let's go deeper than respect. I fear you don't believe in me. Value me. Appreciate me. So the underlying fear is a fear of a lack of value. I don't feel valued. You coming at 7 o'clock instead of 2 o'clock, you're dissing me, you're putting me down, you're not respecting me. The underlying theme of that is I don't feel good enough. I'm not feeling good enough with myself. If I felt good enough with myself, if I felt loved by Hashem, loved by my parents, loved by myself, I would not respond from fear. I'd say, are you okay? Oh my gosh, it's 7 o'clock. Did you have a flat tire? Is everything okay with your family? I can't see you right now. I have the clients to see right now, but are you all right? Can we make another appointment? Are you okay? I would be a person of givingness and sensitivity and love for them instead of taking it personally, saying, how come it's 7 o'clock? What's wrong with you? What, I'd be angry. My anger is coming from my lack of inner value. If I felt valued, which means if I felt loved and integrated the feeling of love and self-value in myself, then I would say, are you all right? I'm okay, but are you okay? So I would not take it personally. Now, I wrote a book, which you could see outside, called Like Yourself and Stay Married. There's another title out there, which is the same book, but I changed the title, which you can see outside, but I cannot mention that title in a base medrash. It's another word for keep quiet, or why can you like yourself? I can like myself and stay married. Why? Because if my spouse says, you didn't take out the garbage. If I don't like myself, I'll say, what do you mean take out the garbage? You didn't make the soup on time. So I got delayed, so it's your fault. I'll respond with negativity. Why? Because I feel attacked. So she says, didn't take out the garbage? Or why didn't you pick up the kids on time? Or I'm not good enough? So I respond with anger. Because if I feel criticized, I'll respond from anger. Why? Because I don't feel good about myself. But if I felt good about myself, if I felt love within myself, I'd say, oh, I'm so sorry, I missed that. Right? You're right, I missed that. I'll take out the garbage, you're right. Or I missed the kids on time, you know what? I'm gonna be better, I'll be more on time next time. If I felt good about it. But if I don't feel good about myself, I'm gonna descend into back and forth, anger at my wife, criticizing her because I felt criticized. So the key in marital harmony is like yourself and stay married. Keep quiet and stay married. And that's the name of the book out there, is Keep Quiet or Hold Your Tongue with a piece of tape around your mouth and stay married. But the key is that in marriage, if we are people who are working on ourselves, what does working on yourself mean? It means working on your own self-value. I'm good. I'm okay. I'm an Eved Hashem. I made a mistake. Okay, what I did might have been a mistake. But I myself am not a mistake. I made a mistake, but I am not a mistake. I am valuable. I am good. I am shalem. I am whole. I am an Eved Hashem. I happen to make a mistake. So there's a big difference between what I do and what I am. I am valuable. I'm a Tzelem Elokim. But what I do, I make mistakes. Now let's take your handout and let's look at the top picture of the head, which is the seichel, the heart, which is the emotions, and the legs, which is the nefesh, the body. And let's work on this top one for a moment. The top one is the mind. The mind. Under the mind section, I'd like you to turn over the page to this picture called the Wheel of Strengths. This is your Wheel of Strengths, and I'd like you to identify what are your best strengths. Here's a picture of the Wheel of Strengths. I'd like you to write down now 2 strengths you have under intellect or mind. Write down your 2 strongest abilities, kochos, in the area of mind. Are you academic? Or are you street smart? Some people are academic and book smart, and some people are common sense people. Some people are really good in school, but some people are not good in school, but they are very good at getting the job done, right? And they run the family or run their business or run their stock organization. So they get the job done. They move from place to place. They can organize things. Doesn't matter that you're not academically, don't get A's. I got C's, but I get the job done. Doesn't matter. No one looks at your resume when you are running an organization or doing a chesed project or doing something. No one looks at your resume as to what you did in school. But when we were children and in high school, the entire value of a child or a student is based on their grades. And our grades in high school, for the most part, are based on your memory. How much you remember and how much you spit back on an exam. That doesn't tell you how smart you are or how geschickt you are, put together you are, how you can organize things. That's just testing memory. That's not a test of life. That's a test of memory. And we make a big mistake putting so much emphasis in school on the grades of children instead of focusing on their other activities. What other activities are there besides intellect? Under the section of intellect, write down, are you a problem solver? Can you figure things out? That's not academic. It might be academic. It doesn't have to be academic. So what are your intellectual traits? Are you a logical person, a rational person, or are you a creative thinker, outside the box thinker? Rabbi Haber is an outside the box thinker. Are you a Gemara person or a halacha person? Or a hashkafa person? Do you learn Gemara and learn logic? Or do you learn hashkafa, ideas and thoughts and spirituality? Each person's mind is different. Each person is unique. Let's move on to social skills, your friends. What kind of social being are you? In this section here, called social. Write down your social skills. Are you outgoing? Or are you a one-to-one person? Are you a confidant? Do people confide in you? Do you keep a secret? The definition of a secret is something you tell one person at a time. That's the definition of a person who keeps secrets, right? Are you a kind person? Are you an organizer of projects? Jackie Burnley is an organizer, a thinker of other people in the community. Are you sensitive to other people's feelings? Moshe and Chana Singer, friends of mine from Edgware, from 30 years ago, invited my family many times for Shabbos. We had little kids and invited us many times and opened their home to the community and were sensitive to the Project Seed and the people in the community. Their midah is sensitivity and chen. So everyone has to know what their strengths are. Sensitivity. Are you a people person or a one-to-one person? Let's move on to personality. Personality is midos. Under the personality section over here, called midos, I want you to write down on the side 10 midos that Hashem has told us that He has instilled in us. According to the Sefer Tomer Devora, when we say the words Hashem, Hashem, Kel Rachum V'Chanun, Erech Apayim, V'Rav Chesed V'Yemes, No Tzerech Chesed La'alafim, No Se'avon V'Afesha V'Chato V'Na'akei. Those 13 attributes of Hashem, the 13 attributes of God, according to Tomer Dvorah, He instilled in each of us one or two or three of those and breathed some of those midos into ourselves. So each of us has a spark of God within ourselves. And that is the midah tova from Hashem that He put in us. So which are, I'm going to name them, and you tell me in this section over here under personality or midos, what is your strongest? Hashem, Hashem means consistency. So write down on the side of your page, Hashem, Hashem means consistency. Hashem doesn't change. He is Hashem before we make a mistake. He is Hashem after we make a mistake. He doesn't change, right? So are you consistent? Are you a person who doesn't give up? Are you a persevering person? Is that your strongest midah? Hashem, Hashem. Kale. Kale is leadership, charismatic, outgoing, dynamic, powerful. Hashem is powerful, and some of us have with that midah within ourselves, that power within us. And Hashem's power in our terms translates into the word leadership. Are you a leader? Rachum. Rachum is mercy, compassion, taking care of someone's physical needs. Are you a Rachum person? Are you a Chanun person? Chanun Chen, the singers, Chen. Chen means taking care of people's emotional needs. Rachum and Chanun are two different concepts. Rachum means I have rachamim on a person. That is, I take care of their physical needs, giving stock of physical needs. And Chanun Chen is taking care of someone's emotional needs, being emotionally supportive, emotionally sensitive. That's Chanun or Chen. Erech Apayim, patience. Laid back, relaxed, mellow, chilled. Chilled and relaxed is called chillaxed. You're chillaxed. Now, I met one person like this, who was chilled and relaxed. It was back in 1994. I remember distinctly, it was a March, I think it was a Tuesday afternoon, the 14th, at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I met one person like this in my life. That's why I remember it so distinctly, because that person was really laid back, really relaxed, really calm. And I wanted to remember that day, that March 14th, 4 o'clock, 1994, I met a relaxed person. I'll never forget it, right? But most people are pretty intense and pretty high-keyed and high-strung, right? So, but they're not really relaxed, right? But there are some people who are mellow, nothing bothers them, it's all good. My mechutin, Anthony Bortz from San Diego, whose son married my daughter, Rina, Baruch Hashem, just had their new child, Baruch Hashem. Thank you. So he says, from South Africa, how are you, Anthony? It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. So what do you mean it's all good? It's not all good. It's all good. It's all good, right? So he's relaxed, like he's chilled. It's all good. So I learned that from him. I said it in a Shalom Zachar. I spoke about Anthony and said, I want to thank you so much for giving us a son-in-law who's everything's all good. It's all good. Baruch Hashem. He's positive. It's all chilled. It's all relaxed. It's all good. It's a good attitude, right? It's all good. How are you? All good. Many people say, how are you? So we say, what do we say? Can't complain. Can't complain. So I say to them, oh, so you'd like to complain, but you can't complain. You want it. So you're really a complainer. You're really a kvetcher. But things are going okay right now, so you can't kvetch, so you can't. But you want to, right? You want to complain, right? You want to, right? No. It's just an expression. I said, no, it's not an expression. It's sort of an attitude. How are you? Can't complain. If things are going okay, instead of saying can't complain, which is belying a negative attitude toward life, saying, I'd like to complain, things are not so good. Okay, can't complain. Could be worse. Could be worse. What do you mean could be worse? In the middle of a pandemic, right? Could be worse. Can't complain. No, really, if things are okay. Well, if things are okay, then don't say can't complain. Just say, Hashem. It's all good. Blessed. It's all good. So, we talk about the idea of these responses with people, interpersonal relationships, and how we feel, and how we express ourselves. Right? So that's the idea of chen. Erech apayim is patience. Rav Chesed, giving. Rav Chesed is giving. Always helping someone who came home from the hospital, making cakes for people, looking after the rota of the people, that means rotation, of the people who came home from hospital, and they have meals for them, right? Always taking care of.
How's that different than Rachum?
So Rachum, that's part of Rachum, right? But Rav Chesed is always doing it. Always. Rav Chesed is always doing it. That's Harbe Chesed, Rav Chesed. That's the theme of my life. I am a Rachum Dika person, right? That's a general idea, but Rav Chesed is the actual doing it. Rachum means have compassion. I want to be sensitive, merciful. I think about other people. But Rav Chesed is actually tachlis, doing it, right? Rav Chesed. MS, honesty, integrity, doing the right thing. Does anyone here have a library book from your old home country before you moved to Israel that you didn't return yet, right? I found a couple of those in my library, and I had to mail them back to the library, right? Because I found these library books I didn't return. That's like trying to be emes, right? You gotta be honest, you gotta do the right thing, right? So honesty, integrity, doing the right thing, emes. No tzar chesed is creativity. No tzar chesed, creative. Are you creative with music, with art, with ideas? Do you put craisins and almonds in the salad? Do you put tangerines next to the roast beef, the brisket, on the main plate? That's creative, right? Creative. That's a creative salad, a creative cook, creative baker, right? Make something a little bit more than the usual. That's creative thinking. No se avon vafesha v'chata'a. I'll take three of those and I'll make it into one. No se avon vafesha v'chata'a is forgiving, letting go of resentments. Hashem forgives us for our mistakes. So we need to be able to be like Hashem by forgiving others for the mistakes they've made toward us. That's letting go of resentment. Very important. And the last one is vinake, resilient. Resilient means to bounce back. Vinake, to purify yourself. To do tshuva. The spiritual idea of doing tshuva is to bounce back from a mistake. I made a mistake, I'm not going to wallow in my self-pity and beat myself up that I made a mistake. I did a chet, right? Chet does not mean sin. That's the King James version of the Bible, which says chet means sin. Chet, according to the Maharal, means chaser, chisaron, to be missing something, to lack something. So when I do a mitzvah means tzavta, to connect with God. Mitzvah is tzavta, to connect with Hashem. Chet means to disconnect from Hashem. Chet does not mean sin. Chet means disconnect. Chaser, says the Maharal. To be chaser, to be lacking in connection. So if I'm lacking connection, do I be depressed about that, or do I get back on track? So resilience means, right, vinake, doing tshuva means get back on track. It doesn't mean that I have to self-flagellate, right? So on Yom Kippur, when we do al chet, or during Tachanun, al chet, right? Many people do it like this. They go, you can hear it throughout the whole show. That's not the point of hitting yourself so that it hurts. That's not the point of al chet. The point of al chet is, I missed the mark. I can get back on track. I uplift myself. The person of al chet is, I can do better. I can be a better son, better husband, better wife, better father, better mother. I can do this. I can do this. It's supposed to be a process of uplifting yourself, not to and putting yourself down and hurting yourself. That's not the Torah approach. The Torah approach is take your heart and uplift yourself. Not supposed to hear the sound of you hitting your heart. That's not the point. It's supposed to be a self-encouragement that I can improve myself and align myself with Hashem's will. That's getting back on track. Now, I want you to take this list and I want you to write down the 2 or 3 or 4 midos which apply to you and place them in this section over here called personality. On this section called personality, I want you to write down those 2 or 3 or 4 which apply to you. Take a look at that list of 10 midos and write in that list, in this section called personality, what are your strongest midos? What is the theme of your life? What are your best midos? Best attributes, best personality traits. And these are the ways in which you are expressing God in this world. Hashem is electricity. The mashal of Hashem is kiviyachol electricity, and you are the air conditioner. So you express Hashem in the world. You express Hashem's electricity in the world through being an air conditioner. So Hashem is the electricity. He is the 10 midos 13 meters of Hashem, and we've mentioned here 10, because we considered Chatav and Akeh as 3, which is really 1. So we talk about 13 meters, which were mentioned here today, only 10. All those 10 meters of Hashem, the 10 dimensions of electricity, flow through you. You're the air conditioner. What do you put out in the world? You receive electricity from Hashem. He breathed into you chen, chana, chen, and you're giving out. You're the air conditioner. You're giving out chen, but the chen comes from Hashem. That's what it means. The 13 attributes: Hashem, Hashem, Kel Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Hapayim Rav Chesed v'Yemes. That's electricity, and it goes through you, and you are taking the electricity from Hashem, and you, as an air conditioner, are putting out low, high. What kind of dimension of electricity are you expressing from Hashem? So therefore, it's not that Hashem is there and you're here. It's that you are an expression of Hashem. That's our relationship with God. You are a conduit of Hashem's being, Hashem's electricity. Like light that comes into us, and we are the prism, and we give out blue, green, orange, yellow, purple, white, black, which means we give out chen, chesed, vinake, resilience, sensitivity, consistency, leadership, kindness. That's the prism or light, the prism of light. We receive the light from Hashem, and we give out our unique dimensions in the world. That's why we are an expression of Hashem. So when you're standing Shemona Esrei, you're breathing in Hashem's presence, you're contemplating Hashem's presence, and then you're contemplating how I can give out Hashem's presence in the world. That's called the relationship with Hashem. Spirituality. Write down what inspires you. Spirituality is your inspiration. What makes you say, wow? What uplifts you? Erev Shabbos in Har Nof, I saw 7 layers of clouds, little lines. I never saw that before. Erev Shabbos, there was like 7 lines of clouds. I counted them, and I go, wow, it's like orange and pink. It's like, I never saw that before. And I was like, what is this? And I said, let me count them. 7 levels, 7 Madregas. I was like, wow, Hashem is speaking to me through this. That's my inspiration. Nature. Seeing Hashem's hand in nature is my. What is your inspiration? Is it chesed? Is it learning? Is it coming to shul? Hearing Rabbi Haber speak? What is your inspiration? Purim, Pesach. What is your inspiration? What inspires you? Playing with your children, grandchildren. What is your inspiration? Family. Section family. What is your contribution to your family? What is your main contribution to your family? Are you the motivator of your family? Are you the spark plug? Are you the peacemaker? Are you the mediator? Are you the inspirer? The organizer? What's your main contribution to your family? What is the main role that you play in your family? How do you personally contribute to the uniqueness of your family? And the section called growth, physical accomplishments, is really called growth. That's what we're doing here tonight in this workshop and shir tonight, is growth. We are trying to grow from learning how to get ourselves out of a bad mood. And I'm going to share with you how to do that right now. So we take a look at our stick figure over here. Take a look at our stick figure over here. And we have now you have this wheel of strength is here, right? This is your wheel of strength. We just wrote it. We just did it on this page over here. This page over here is your wheel of strength. That is imported right here. So now you have this awareness, this consciousness of your strengths, your intellectual strengths, your social skills, your personality or midos, your spirituality, your family contribution, and growth. That goes here. We have this already. We've already discussed what your emotions are. Love and fear, negativity, love, anger, anxiety, sadness. We've discussed that over here. And now the bottom The bottom is the bore. The bottom is the dungeon. When Yosef, a tzaddik, was thrown into the bore, right? It says, these are the parshas we're learning now. It says, "Va'bor reik ein bo mayim." The pit was empty, there was no water. And Rashi says, according to the Gemara and Saita, that mayim ein boy, there was no water in it, aval Nakhashim ve'akravim yesh boy. There were snakes and scorpions. Says my Rebbe, Reb Moshe Shapira Zatzal. What is a Nakhash? A Nakhash comes from the Nakhash of the Gan Eden. A Nakhash comes from the Garden of Eden. It slithers. It is a very physical, enticing being. The Nakhash comes from the word chush, which means desires, senses. The Nakhash, the Yetzer Hara, represents our senses. The appeal to our senses, our sensuality, our physicality. That's what Nakhash means. That's what the Nakhash of the Gan Eden was. The Nakhash means, the Yetzer Hara means the appeal to our senses. Seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, feeling, touching. That's the Yetzer Hara is the Nakhash, which goes after our chush. That's what Nakhash is. Akrav means oiker rav, says the Maral, quoted by Rav Moshe. Akrav means oiker rav, uprooting our emunah. Oiker rav means uprooting our emunah. So the bottom of the dungeon, the bottom of the pit that Yosef was thrown into, that we are all thrown into, the pit that he was sent into when he didn't have enough emunah, when he asked the butler to remind himself, remind me to Paro. He went back into the dungeon for how many more years? 2 years, because Oiker Rav, it was a scorpion, because he went back into the dungeon for 2 more years, because he didn't have enough emunah to see that this whole hashgacha is coming from Hashem, that he was put in the bore to interpret the dreams of the butler and the baker. Don't you see that Hashem is organized? You have to remind him. Hashem is going to take care of it. Because of that lack of emunah, he was oiker rav. He uprooted and he had to go back into the bore. Go back in the dungeon. Where is that dungeon? Right here. Where is that dungeon? Right here. Into the guf. The dungeon, the bore of our bodies, of our beings, is the Nakhash, the Akrav, the physical enticements of our lives, and the wrong hashkafa of our lives. And they last over here. So when we get upset emotionally, here comes the key. When we get emotionally upset, angry, or hurt, or insulted because of fear is the main emotion of pain, because we are either angry or we're depressed or we don't feel valued, we go down. Gravity brings us down into the bore, into the pit of Nakhash, of our senses get depressed, and we start what? What is the physical response to the emotion of fear or pain or anxiety or depression or sadness? It brings us down into the pit, this pit that Yosef was in, and it makes us feel, our body feels what? What does your body feel when we get down from the emotions? Gravity pulls us down into our body. Our body feels what? Heavy. Very, very true, because gravity brings us down. We become heavy. What other emotions, what other feelings do we have down here in our bodies when our emotions take hold of us and they grab our chushim? The Yetzer Hara grabs us. They grab our chushim, our senses, and they bring our body into your emotions. Make you feel something? Down, depressed. How does it manifest in your body? What? Weakness. The body gets weak. From an emotional, someone upsets me and says to me they don't like my shir. Someone says you don't like my counseling, my therapy. Someone says, my wife says you didn't take out the garbage. Oh, what kind of husband are you? And I go from that thought to the feeling of not good enough to what? I lie in bed. I'm broken. From a put down, a negativity, a criticism, emotional criticism, I go from my emotions down into my body, gravity, and I become in the bore. I'm in the pit. I feel listless, weak, Heavy. What else? Tired. What else? Depressed. And the body actually feels it. Our bodies, we know this, right? The body actually feels what? Blah. Blah. From an emotion, from the emotions of anger, depression, insult, hurt, pain, dismissed, dissed, we go down in our body because it's all one system. The mind, the heart, and the body is one system. The heart bone connected to the leg bone, connected to the brain bone. It's all one system. If I feel upset, if someone insults me, I'm going to be depressed. I'm going to be unable to move. I'm having a bad hair day. Right? I'm having a bad day. How are you? Not good. Why? Someone just insulted me. What? So what? It hurts. I feel very pained. We're down here. We're in a bad mood. And this can happen many times a day. Many hours in the day. I can up and down many times. My moods can fluctuate 10, 15 times per day. Based on what I hear, what I see, what someone says to me, my kids listen, don't listen, my wife says a compliment or says, come on, get your act together, or whatever, I'm up and down 10, 15 times a day. I'm in a bad mood. Now, this doesn't happen to you, I'm sure it just happens to me, right? I'm sure you cannot relate to this idea, right? This is on the men's side. The women are always happy up here. The women are always happy because it doesn't really affect them, your moods up and down, right? You're mostly up here, right? And we men down here, we get hurt all this time. We're down here, right, gentlemen? But the women are always, no, not true, right? So you're also up and down. Oh, I see, this is universal. I see, so the men and the women are up and down 15 times a day, 10, depending on what you hear, what you see, what someone says to you, the interactions, whether things are going well at work, whether your bank account is in a good place, you're good. When your bank account is in the red, you're going, oh, I'm not so good. When the kids are listening, fine. When the kids are not so well, when I don't feel good, I'm down here, right? We're in a bad mood.
Especially when the dollar goes down.
Pardon me?
Especially when the dollar goes down.
And when the dollar goes down, right? When the dollar goes down, right? But the dolev is always up. 12 dolev is always up. But the dollar is sometimes down, right? The dollar is down, right? But the dolev is always up, right? So the question is, 12 dolev is always up. How do you talk yourself out of a bad mood? How do you go from here, 15 times a day, to here? The answer is, you are not a mind. You are a soul. And if you focus and become aware, who are you? That you are Ani Yosef. Umoshel b'chol Eretz Mitzrayim. You are Yosef HaTzadik. You are not Yosef in the bore, in the depression of the body. It's down here in the nefesh because someone insulted you. You are the wheel of strength up here, which is Yosef. Umoshel b'chol Eretz Mitzrayim. Yosef HaTzadik was the governor, the viceroy, Mishal HaMelech, in charge of his Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim means Meitzar Yam, my narrow straits. Meitzar Yam means my narrow straits. He was in charge of himself. That's why he was able to withstand the seduction of Potiphar's wife. Potiphar's wife was trying to get him to make his mistake. And he was able to do up here, he was able to go up here, not down to his senses, sensuality, but he went up here to who he really was. And when he revealed himself to his brothers, he said what? Ani Yosef, ha'od avichai. It wasn't a question. Ani Yosef, ha'od avichai. He already asked that question before. He already was told that his father was alive. The second time he asked the question, when he revealed himself to his brothers, was not, is my father still alive? Ani Yosef, ha'od avichai. Because I have the midah from my Avi, from Hashem, the Midah Tova that He gave me, which is my self-control, my discipline, my MS, Ha'od Avichai, I have that Midah of Hashem in me. This has nothing to do with your mind. This has to do with who you are. This is your soul. If you know what your soul is, what your Midah Tova is, what Hashem put you in the world to do, then even though you're down and depressed and upset, you can say to yourself, one second, I can either stay down here into my depression, my sadness, my brokenness, my anger, my pain, my being hurt, my being listless, broken, weak, because my emotions have been piqued and my emotions tell me I'm not good enough. Is that true? And I say to myself, Ani Yosef, Ha'od Avichai. You know who I am? I am one of the midos of Hashem that we just mentioned, that look in your section called personality. Under the section called personality, you have written down, under this section called personality, over here, you've written down 2 or 3 of the midos of Hashem. Please tell me which ones they are. Share with me. Which ones have you written down here as your strongest midos from Hashem? What are they? Tell me. Pardon? Compassion. So let's say you're insulted. What's your first name? Menachem. So Menachem, let's say you got insulted by someone. The shul didn't give you an aliyah, right? So you could feel like, got insulted, I got depressed, got sad, I wasn't respected, I wasn't valued in the shul, I was supposed to get an aliyah, everyone else got an aliyah, I didn't get one, right? You walk home, shul. On your way home, Menachem, you go to yourself, I could stay down and come into the house depressed and saying, have a bad day in shul, and have a really poor lunch with my wife and grandchildren. Or I can say to myself, one second, who am I? Who am I? Second. Ani Yosef. I'm Menachem. Who is Menachem? Compassionate. Enter into the space called the soul state, the neshama state of my compassion. One second. I am an expression of Hashem's electricity. Hashem is the source of compassion. Rachum v'chanun. He breathed into me Menachem, and that's your name, Menachem. Sensitivity, compassion. Menachem, breathe into me compassion. Who am I? I'm compassionate. Am I going to let something that happened to my ego, my feelings, bring me down away from who I really am, which is my compassion? Am I going to allow that to happen? Allow my ego to dictate who I am? Or am I going to go to Ani Yosef? Am I going to go to my soul, not my mind? My mind has a JPEG attached to it, a picture saying, you're being dissed, you're not good enough, you didn't get an aliyah, right? And you could go with your mind down into your emotions down into your body, and your body can say, oh, I'm depressed. It's a bad day. You need to sleep it off for the next 24 hours, 48 hours, and be down. Or you can say, who am I? Mi ani. I am Menachem. I am compassionate. That's who I am. And get into the zone of experiencing my compassion. Walk into the house and say, hi, good Shabbos, how are you? I'm rising above the bore, rising above my nefesh, my body, rising above my depression, because I go up here, right? I go up here. I go from here up to here by being aware of my wheel of strengths, really who I really am, my essence, my intellect, my social skills, my midos, which is the key, my midos, my personality, my spirituality, my contribution to family, and I'm growing. And you know what? I don't have to stay down in the bore. I can rise above this negativity. I can rise above my ego, which is based on my intellect, my seichel, and go to my soul. Am I a seichel or a soul? Who am I? When I get in the zone of Ani Yosef, Ani Yosef was a person of MS, a person of self-control, self-restraint. If he write, one second, am I going to give in to my chushim, my sensual desires, and go after this Potiphar's wife? Or I'm going to go, Who am I? Ani Yosef, Ha'od Avichai. You know where I get it from? Ha'od Avichai, from my father. When I say to you, Menachem, go to your compassion, you're getting that from God. You're tapping into the electricity source, which is Hashem, and Hashem made you compassionate. So be it. When you're compassionate, what happens to the insult? When you are in the zone of being compassionate because Hashem made you compassionate, and you have then at that moment a dvekus, a relationship with God, knowing how God made you, right? What happens to your depression of being dissed but not getting Aliyah? What happens, Menachem?
It goes away.
Why? Why does it go away?
Because you transcended.
You transcend. Why do you transcend? Help me, ladies and gentlemen. When you are able to focus on really who you are, in Menachem's case, it is compassion. Someone else, tell me who you are. What is your best midah? That which defines you, which expresses God's electricity in the world. Who are you? Give me an example. Resilience, right? Nakeh, resilience. So if you tap into resilience, and Hashem is the only one who is resilient, He's the source of resilience in the world. Your relationship with God is that you tap into His resilience and you experience resilience. That's the air conditioner. That's the prism of resilience. That's the color of strength, of revival within yourself. Resilience. Why? Nothing bothers Hashem. We can insult Him. We can do chatoim. We can disconnect with Him. Does God get insulted? He bounces back no matter what. He's the source of resilience. So when you breathe in resilience. Breathe in, get in the zone of resilience. Let it go through your being. Experience it. Don't just think it. I'm not talking about thinking now. I'm experiencing it. 1 second, resilience. Let it go through all your cells, all your molecular structure, your DNA, your being, When you're in that zone of dvekus, of connection to Hashem, what happens to the diss? What happens to the insult? What happens to the depression? What happens to the sadness? What happens to the feeling of brokenness? Why? Why does it dissipate? Why do you transcend it? When you're in that zone, why does it go away? Why? Do it. Let's do it. Go to that place. Experience it. You're up here, Ani Yosef. Look down at the depression. You're up here now. You're in the zone of compassion, a zone of resilience. You're in the zone of leadership. You're in the zone of chen, sensitivity. I'm in the zone. I'm in the zone of truth. And I feel connected to Hashem. And you then at that moment are experiencing the flow of God's electricity through your being, which means Hashem's midos, which are flying through your being, which are coursing through your being at that moment. At that moment, the dvekus, you're connected to Hashem. You're up here. You look down at the depression. What happens when you look down from up here, from the true self, down here to the bore? What happens?
You say, why do I want to be down there?
Why do you say that? Why do you say to yourself, Menachem, why do I want to be down there? Why are you able to say that question from here down there to your depression, sadness, brokenness, bad mood? Why are you able, because of your compassion and connection to Hashem, you look down and you go, why do I want to be down there? Why do you want to be down there?
Well, the answer is, if you can be in a good mood, why be in a bad mood?
Why be in a bad mood? You know why? Because there's a difference between I and me. I is the soul state, is the connection to I, to Hashem. Me is my ego. Here is me. Here is me, my ego. My ego made up of my feelings and my body. And partly part of my intellect also is part of that, according to the Maral, according to the Ramchal, that the intellect and the emotions are part of the Nefesh. It's incredible. He says the mind and the imagination are part of the Nefesh, not part of the Neshama. The Ramchal in the Perek Aleph, in Shar Aleph, says that the mind is not part of the Neshama. It's separate from the Neshama. It's part of the Nefesh, part of the body. The mind is part of the body, the intellect and imagination. Which means that it's only a functionary, it's only a machine. The mind is only a machine. But you are an neshama. You are an expression of electricity from Hashem. That's what you are. When you experience that connection to Hashem, and you're in that zone, you are in the I of self. I, the letter I. And you look down at the me and say, what are you doing down there? Why do you want to be down there? Oh, what does the me say? What does the me answer to the I? The me and the I are having a dialogue. The me says to the I what? What? I'm justified. Why am I justified to being down here and being depressed and upset? Why?
They should respect me.
They should respect me. They should respect me. Me. They didn't respect me. They insulted me. I didn't get the aliyah. My husband didn't say I looked good. My wife didn't say, hey, you did a good job with the kids. I'm getting dissed here. What part of me is getting hurt? What part of me gets me depressed? The ego. The ego is part of the nephesh. But if you go, who am I? Who am I? I'm a soul. So in mathematics, in geometry, we have this thing called the x-axis, which has numbers on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we have -1, -2, -3, 4. And we also have the y-axis. When I get insulted, I am insulted on the x-axis. The ego exists on the x-axis. Because these are numbers of time. 1 o'clock, now 9 o'clock. So at 9 o'clock, I met somebody who insulted me. That happens in time. In a moment of time, when a body in time, my nephesh in time, felt insulted at a certain particular point in time, at an hour, 9 p.m., or 9 a.m., 10 a.m., didn't get my aliyah in time, 10 a.m. this morning. My nephesh, my body, at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., did not get what it wanted. So my ego gets depressed. My x-axis goes over here. If you go to your y-axis, Menachem, go to the y-axis. Y-axis is above time. Hashem is above time. Hashem melech, Hashem malach, Hashem yimloch. He's beyond time. If I tap into Hashem, who's beyond time, and I leave the world of the ego, which is in time, I'm entering the y-axis, which is the axis of what? What would you call this? Y-axis. This dvekus with Hashem.
Intellect.
No, beyond the intellect is part of the ego. This is the soul, the neshama. I call it consciousness. When you enter the world of consciousness, when you wake up, get woke, right? Stay woke. That's the name of my book outside, called Stay Woke and Ignite Your Soul. Stay woke and ignite your soul. When you're woke, when you're totally conscious and awake to your relationship with Hashem, then you're automatically out of what? Out of your bad mood. Because your bad mood is only in my ego. And I rise above into my soul state, into my relationship with God. A relationship with Hashem is not only on Yom Kippur, not only when you have a chasana of your child or a bar mitzvah. A relationship with Hashem is every day, every moment. Whenever you let Him in. What does that mean, whenever you let Him in? Whenever you are conscious of God. And when is that? When is it? When do you have an opportunity to be conscious of Hashem? When? When?
Every minute.
Every minute. It's up to you. But this is hard to do. Right? As the proverbial statement it goes, right? Easier said than done. Right? Yeah, no kidding. Right? Easier said than done. Yeah, really. Go to my dveku state? Sure, Rabbi. That's great. Yeah. But I'm living in my ego. I'm living in the real world. You're talking about some sort of airy-fairy, some sort of highfalutin state. No, I'm not. I'm talking about the ongoing dialogue between my ego and my soul. But we have to become aware that we have a soul, we have a consciousness. And if you want to work hard and get there, you can get there. Right? But it's an avodah. Avodas Hashem. Serving God is an avodas Hashem. The natural state of being is, I'm going to be down there. Oh, my natural state of being, is life is going to take me down. My natural state of being is I am going to go for my emotions right down here. And I'm going to be down here all the time, 15 times a day. And Hashem gave us an awareness, a consciousness of relationship with Him, which can bring us up here, which is not the intellect. Not the intellect. Because I asked you before, well, what are the wheel of strengths? And you said, well, I have an intellect, right? So I said, well, part of the wheel of strengths is my intellect. I am logical, I learn, I read, right? That's my intellect. And these are my friendships. Well, that's my emotions. But this isn't. This dimension of the wheel of strengths is the soul. This is part of the nephesh, the intellect, social skills. Even perhaps, maybe spirituality is a hybrid, and family is part of my ego. But this is the key. The midah tova that Hashem gave you, when you're conscious of it, and you work on it daily, and you work on it. And when I work on it is in Shemona Esrei, 3 times a day. When I say Hashem Sfasai Tiftach Ufiki Kehllas KSY, begin Shemona Esrei, I stop. And before I begin Shemona Esrei, and the Gemara in Brachas Daf Ches says that we should not go right at Shemona Esrei. Take 3 steps back, 3 steps forward. It says we should wait the time it takes to go shtei delatois. The Gemara says you should wait until it takes the time it takes to walk 2 doorways, which is 8 amos, which is about 10 seconds or 15 seconds. I take a little longer. Why? Because you can't just, Shemona Esrei, go from the hustle bustle of the ego and enter into the soul. You just can't go. That's not davening. That's not Shemona Esrei. Shemona Esrei is this. I'm stepping out of my ego, stepping into my soul state. I have to put myself in that state. 1 second, let me just think. Hold on, let me get there. Hold on. And I imagine my most beautiful place. Imagine your most beautiful place. Where's your most beautiful place? My beautiful place is Ein Gedi. And every Shemona Esrei, I take 3 steps back, 3 steps forward, I go to Ein Gedi, I watch the waterfall. And to me, the waterfall is me. Why? The waterfall, to me, is creative. It's water, rocks, moss, pool of water goes this way. What I'm seeing is me. So I go to the waterfall, I put myself in my soul state, which is my creativity. That's my strongest trait, is creativity. I go to see my creativity. Then I bring it down. Baruch. I bring down the creativity from Hashem. He's the source of creation. He's the creator. He made me a little bit creative with ideas and thoughts, right? So I bring it down. He's the source. He's the Avichai. He is Avichai. I am the Yosef. Ani Yosef. Hod Avichai. My father is alive. I bring down Menachem. You bring down Chesed. Chain. You bring it down. He's the source, Hashem. You bring it down. You bring down resilience. Tap into it. Hashem, source of resilience. Bring it down, Baruch. That's what Berech means. Baruch means you're the source. Baruch doesn't mean I bless you, God. It means Hashem is the source of blessing. Chaim Volozhner in Nefesh HaChaim, 1st chapter 1, Perek 1, Shar Aleph, Perek Aleph and Perek Beis, says Hashem is the Brecha, the Bracha, the source. Bring it down, Baruch. And I bring down the source into myself. I bring down my creativity. You bring down your resilience. You bring down your Rachum v'Chanun. Bring it down, Baruch. Ata. Thank you, Hashem, for giving me. Hashem, let me serve you with my creativity today. So Baruch, I tap into the source. Ata. I'm humbled and I thank you, Hashem, for giving me my personality, my sense of godliness. Hashem, please allow me to serve you with my creativity today. Please allow me to serve you with my Rachum v'Chanun. Please allow me to serve you with my resilience today. Because I'm going to be tested. What's going to be tested? My ego. My ego is going to be tested with this all day long. up and down 15 times. And if I remember who I am, I gain consciousness. When I'm hurt, when I'm depressed, when I'm sad, angry, in pain, anxious, my ego brings me into the depression, into the bad mood, and I'm no longer connected to myself. My ego makes me think on myself because I'm hurt. Feels very real. Ouch, that hurts. I'm really depressed. I'm really angry. I'm really sad. I can't get out of bed. That's very real. That's the ego state. 1 second, work hard. Put yourself here, and that's why we have to work on it every day in Shemona Esrei. You can do it meditating. You can meditate on your beautiful place. And there's a correlation between your beautiful place and your highest midah. For me, the correlation between Ein Gedi and my creativity is the fact that it's a creative place. For me, it looks like creativity. Water and cliffs, right? Your beautiful place may be water, beach, right? Where's your beautiful place? Water, beach, right? Why is your beautiful place water? What's the correlation between water and I bet you your personality is connected to, when you see water, it represents the idea of flow, of giving, of compassion, of flowing and giving of yourself. So that's your midah of chesed, chen, rachum, v'chanun. That's your midah. When you go to your beautiful place in Shemona Esrei, when you go to my beach self is my chesed, my flowing self, my giving. The water flows, waves flow, they give. That's your giving self. Tap into it, be it, experience it, then bring it down, Baruch. I bring down my giving self, Atah. Thank you, Hashem. Let me serve you with my giving self today. And then the next 4 or 5 hours after Shachris, after Mincha, you're going to experience challenges of the ego, and the ego is going to say to you, be depressed. And the consciousness will say to you what? Ani Yosef, Hod Avichai. I can rise above the bore, the pit, the dungeon that I was in. And when Yosef was brought up out of the dungeon, he was Melech al Kol Mitzrayim. He was Melech al all the Klipos. He became Malchus over himself. He was the king over himself. He was king over Mitzrayim. I become Mitzrayim. I become Meitzar Yam. Yosef brought himself up to be above Mitzrayim. From the pit in the same day. Isn't it incredible? He was in the morning in the dungeon in the pit, and in the afternoon he was the second in command of Egypt. What does that mean? It means that any one given moment of the day we can be in the dungeon and we can be king of Egypt and queen of Egypt. And Yosef married Potiphar's wife's daughter. And Potiphar's wife was Dinah. And Dinah's daughter was the one that Yosef married. He married his niece. Potiphar's wife was, or one of his wives, was Dinah. And Dinah had a daughter, the daughter of Potiphar. And Yosef married her, married his own niece. And he was able to rise above and bring Ephraim and Manasseh into the world because he rose above his ego and became Ani Yosef Ha'od Avichai. We all are Yosef, and we can say to ourselves, Ani Yosef Ha'od Avichai. Yes, my father is alive. Why? My father is my highest self from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he breathed into me my either Hashem consistency, my Kale, my leadership, my Rachum, my compassion, my Chanun, my Chen and sensitivity, my Erech Apayim, my patience, my Rav Chesed giving, my MS, honesty, integrity, my Notzer Chesed creativity, my Chata'av and Akeh, my giving up of resentment, my forgiveness of forgiving my spouse and my children, my neighbors, and the Shul Dingami and Aliyah, and my Nakeh, my resilience. That comes from the source, Od Avi, from my father. That's called consciousness. When we work on that every day in Shemona Esrei, and that's why on Shabbos is a day where we have to reflect on how I become that person this week. Sheish yamim talvu v'sizkom l'achtecha, says Ramosha, my Rebbe, 6 days you shall work. And the seventh day you shall rest means 6 days you shall work on yourself. And the seventh day you rest and reflect on the person that I've become. I worked on myself all week. I worked on my resilience. I worked on my chesed. I worked on my creativity. I worked on my leadership all week long. And on Shabbos, I don't do any work, of course, because I'm working on myself. I'm working on who am I? Who have I become? That is the way in which we can talk ourselves out of a bad mood, by being conscious of the godliness within yourself. That's not ego. That's not intellect. That's your soul state, neshama state. That is your highest self. That's your godly self. That's your dvekus. Your connection to Hashem. That's consciousness. That's being alive. That's really being alive. When you're connected to Hashem, you're really alive. When I'm in my ego, I'm not alive. I'm just going through the motions. I'm just functioning. I'm just going through the motions. But when I'm conscious and I get into the capital R reality, the Metzius of Hashem, then I'm alive. Then I can talk myself out of a bad mood anytime you want to. So I invite you to take this home. Take this home. Work on it. I invite you to take this wheel of strength, put it on your fridge, put a copy of it next to your computer, put a copy in your notebook, your handbag or your wallet, put it around. Remind yourself who you are. Remind yourself, work on it. Our natural state is going to want to go back to the ego. And our job, our avoda, is to connect with Hashem by thinking about this and talking ourselves out of a bad mood. At will. It takes practice. But if you work on it, I believe that you will succeed. Questions, please.
Yeah, for example, a simplified example of a God not giving you an aliyah. You can talk yourself out of a bad mood, and you will probably forgive the person for that because maybe it was 6 yards second. But let's say someone commits a very serious transaction against you or your family, and it's really not forgivable. How do you get out of that?
Okay, so you're asking, when you have an aliyah and you didn't get the aliyah, so someone's upsetting you, so you can get out of that mood. What if something happens that is...
I can forgive the guy. But if you can't forgive someone, how can you get out of that mood?
Okay, so if something is unforgivable, okay, give me an example of something which is unforgivable. How can you forgive something that is unforgivable? What is unforgivable?
Example, somebody thinks that living daylights out of your daughter.
Someone who assaults me or assaults a family member. Okay? So if I am going to be justifiably angry, my ego is going to be very angry at that person, right? I could stay angry and be in my anger state for weeks, months, years, forever, if I wanted to, right? Is that going to allow me to achieve my destiny by living in my anger because of what this person did? I'm not going to forgive him, meaning I'm not going to let this happen. I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to get a bodyguard or make sure that my family member will get a better alarm system, or I'm going to have a bodyguard, but I'm not going to forgive that person. But I am in my own mind not going to be consumed by anger, because what will happen if I am consumed by anger against the world and bitter against the world if that happened? What's going to happen to me?
You're going to hurt yourself.
I'm going to hurt myself. So therefore, I'm not forgiving that person. I'm just moving on in my own mind, in my own soul. I'm going to continue being me and achieving my potential. But if I allow this anger, and it's justifiable, my anger is justifiable, and I do have an anger, I do have an ego which is justifiably angry at this situation. But it's not me. It doesn't define. I'm not going to allow that event to define me. It happened. It hurts. It's painful. But I'm not going to stay down there. So what I'm saying is there is an ego, and we have an ego, and we can fluctuate from our ego up to our true self. But I'm not saying to discount the ego. I'm saying to rise above the ego. Why? Because if I stay angry, I'm not going to allow myself to achieve my potential in life. I'm going to be steeped in anger. So I'm going to take steps to make sure that I fix that mistake that person did to me. I'm going to protect myself. I'm not going to deal with that person. I'm going to get a protection order against that person, a restraining order. I'm going to get a bodyguard. But I'm going to continue my work as being a menachem, who is a person who is chesedic and kind and being involved. I'm not going to become a bitter person because that person makes this world a bitter place and a terrible place, and therefore I'm not going to do anything for the chesed for the community anymore. I'm not going to be a happy person anymore. I'm not going to be a good person anymore. You know why? Because this person dissed me and hurt my family, and therefore I'm going to be bitter the rest of my life.
So you're saying it's possible to differentiate between your personal emotional feelings and, on the other hand, granting forgiveness to this person.
That's correct. I'm saying that you can differentiate between the ego and anger feelings and rise up and continue my destiny, continue my work in this world, even though that this event happened and my ego is hurt by it. But I don't have to be down in that bad mood. I can take steps to overcome it and to deal with it in the real world, in reality. But I'm going to continue my journey and not be sidetracked, because I'm not going to let that person have control of it. Do you believe in free will?
I personally believe in free will.
Yes. Do you believe in free will?
Yeah.
So why would you and I, give up my free will to this attacker and allow this attacker to take away my free will of being who I'm supposed to be? Why am I giving him so much power? What?
Because it's probably on your mind, you know.
It's on my mind, Menachem. It's on my mind. And it's on my emotions, and it's on my feelings. That's right. It's on my mind. It's in my ego. Am I my ego? So on my ego level, I'm going to deal with the situation. I'm going to do the best I can to deal with it. But I'm not going to let that define me. My I defines me. Avi, my father, defines me. Hashem defines me. I'm not going to allow anything anybody did to define me. That happened. Okay, I'm sorry that happened. It's hurtful? Yes, it's hurtful. You insulted me, you hurt my feelings? Yes, I get that. That's my ego. Am I going to allow that to define me? If I do that, I'm giving up my free will. My free will is my destiny to become what Hashem wants me to become, to achieve my potential. So if I'm going to allow my ego to make me angry or keep anger in me for the rest of my day, week, month, years, and become a bitter person because of that, what happened to me, no matter what happened to me, then I am going to allow my ego to define me. I am not defined by my ego. I'm defined by my soul. My soul is my God-given destiny. And my God-given destiny is a reflection of my best midah that Hashem gave me. That's electricity Hashem gave me. I am the air conditioner. I am the prism, and I'm giving that. I'm not going to let somebody derail me from my destiny.